All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down this Black Friday slate here for NFL DFS. We have the Eagles versus the Bears. Let's go ahead and get into it. So another kind of interesting game here where the Eagles are going to be 7-point favorites going against the Chicago Bears. Kind of a low game total as well, 44.1 total points. And I'm kind of surprised by that, just given how, I don't want to say well the Bears offense has looked, but the Bears offense has been able to create some big plays, mostly due to Ben Johnson. And so I am surprised that the game total doesn't really change much for DFS purposes. We are probably going to be targeting a little bit more the Bears pass catchers as a result of that, them being like 7-point dogs, but kind of a interesting, I would say, outlook for this game via Vegas. Now, when it gets to the Bears, I think the starting point is really going to be what to do with the running backs. So DeAndre Swift ended up getting out-snapped by Kyle Monangai in that game, really wasn't efficient, and then also had a fumble in that game. It's kind of been DeAndre Swift to a T throughout his career. He'll have a lot of games where he looks very impressive, kind of the clear-cut player that should be on the field, and then last week happens where, not so good from him. Do we just write that off as a bad game? That's the question I have for you guys. But Kyle Monangai ended up out-snapping DeAndre Swift there, getting 56% of the snaps to DeAndre Swift's 43%. Now, as you guys know, I've been hyping out Kyle Monangai really this whole season. I was drafting him in best ball drafts, basically begging you guys to draft him in the last round of best balls drafts. I got like 60% of them in those. And he was someone I was telling you guys to stash for fantasy football purposes. And all those were good takes. Like, obviously that's working out for us here, but I will say he was not that impressive last week. And I feel like it's due to coaching. There's a lot of plays where he gets to where the play is going to go instead of like cutting it up into a certain, read that he would see. It almost seems like Ben Johnson's like coaching him up to not be as good of a running back in the sense of like a big play. I don't know, his film last week was just like annoying. And honestly, like, even though, like I said, those takes to you, I almost feel like I oversold his talent, even though it's like working out. It was kind of just a weird situation where I'm like, dang, he should be doing better than he is, based off of my expectations for him. Although the role has been nice, obviously we'd like to see that for him. That being said, for this showdown slate, I don't mind him. I do think it makes a lot of sense to get to him, especially over DeAndre Swift. If you even want to be on him in the captain spot, I don't hate that idea. The issue with him is I just think DeAndre Swift is a better pass catcher out of the backfield than is Kyle Monangai. Now, we don't necessarily see that too much, although we have seen Swift have some pretty high target share type of games. The difference is they've been winning games, and so they haven't had to throw it as much recently to the running back. I don't mind the idea of getting to one of those two in all of our builds. Or even like 60% of our builds. That's the biggest guess here that we have, though, for the Bears. Now, what's easy is kind of figuring out what to do with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been weird as well. He'll hit the open plays for the most part, but he'll make some eye-poppingly bad plays and just reads and decisions. Overall, it's kind of been a roller coaster. Caleb Williams has been Trevor Lawrence was good, if that makes sense. Like, Trevor Lawrence is a big roller coaster for sure. Lawrence will make some elite throws and some elite plays, but overall, his film is pretty bad for most of it. Whereas Caleb Williams, it's kind of the opposite of that. For the most part, he's making some pretty darn good plays throughout the game. He'll just have some pretty eye-poppingly bad plays and throws. We see the completion percent. That is terrible. But overall, I think he's been solid, and what we really like about him from a DFS standpoint is the amount of rushing he's doing. That raises his floor a decent amount, and that does open up the offense a decent amount. So I am firmly trying to get to Caleb Williams in this game. The matchup with Philly isn't necessarily the best, but oh well. Another tough part here about the Bears is what to do with their receivers. Okay, so the thing with Ben Johnson is he is someone that will design plays for certain players. We did end up seeing DJ Moore have a better game last week, guys. He's had two really explosion games over the past month. But that's really it for DJ Moore. I do think it's best to get to at least one of these two in all of our builds. And so let's just go ahead and set up the lineup builder based off of that here, guys. So I think we do exactly one of Kyle Monangai first and foremost in the flex or captain spot, and then DeAndre Swift as well. And we'll do that in about 70% of our builds. So we'll get exactly one of them in about 70% of our builds. And then we can also do that here. And it's not necessarily as much of a crucial thing, but I do think getting into exactly one of Rome Odunze and also DJ Moore will make this slate a little bit easier to maneuver. Although, could they both go off? Sure, they both could. We just haven't necessarily seen that too much. And we'll do that in about that's probably too much, 50% of our builds. So 50% of our builds will get into exactly one of them. That opens it up for the rest of the 50% of builds where they can be in lineups together. So I do like that approach. Honestly, just given the fact that it was a DJ Moore last week, I kind of expected it to be more of a Roma Dunze week, but that being said, DJ Moore's cheaper, so we can chase that. Looking at the tight end spots, Colson Loveland is kind of the, I guess, more desirable Bears tight end. It is basically a 50-50 split between the two. We are seeing a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. They ended up running out 28% snaps out of 12 personnel, so 2 tight end sets, and then they also had about 15% out of 13 personnel there. So I don't mind Loveland. I just don't love the matchup there. Cole Kmet's fine as well, given his price tag. His targets weren't really there last week, only 1 target, but kind of that's why he's cheaper. So I don't hate that. And then Luther Burden. A lot of people have been hyping up Luther Burden really this whole year, and I haven't exactly seen it as much as them, although 5 targets last week, guys, did have 35 air yards, 3 receptions, has had a pretty solid floor. And I would say for this matchup where they are 7-point dogs, he is a very appealing value for us as well. And I do wonder if they are going to be playing from behind, will we see Zacchaeus end up playing more snaps? Okay, so Zacchaeus only played 36% of the snaps last week. In a lot of games, he was actually Caleb Williams like receiver 1. So I do think we would see a lot of 4 receiver sets if they are playing from that 7-point line that Vegas has given us. So I don't mind him as a value, but I mean, if we can pay $800 more to get to Luther Burden, I would much rather do that. And then for what it's worth, I actually do like Santos a decent amount here. The Bears offense, I think, will get into scoring position. I do think their drives will stall out to the point where we're probably looking at Santos to get around 7.5 DFS points, maybe makes an extra one. I do really like him as a value on this slate as well. And the Eagles do give up a decent amount of field goals as well. So now we go ahead and get into the Philadelphia Eagles. Really my issue with the Eagles is they are a little top heavy. So we know who to be on for them. It's going to be Hurts, Barkley. We're going to be looking at Goddard a little bit, and then we have Smith and AJ Brown. That's pretty much it. It's that simple, really. Those are the plays we want to get to. Now, with this game being a game in which the Eagles are projected to win by 7 points, that does make Saquon Barkley a little bit more appealing, but that also does bring into the equation, do we want to be on Tank Bigsby, in potential blowout run? Probably not. He's priced up a little bit too much there for the role that he's getting. He only played 5% of the snaps last week. They have gotten Will Shipley back over the past several of weeks now, and he's been a little bit more involved in the offense, but he only played 12% of the snaps. He's a little bit cheaper, so if you're looking for a punt value, you can get there. But yeah, Saquon Barkley, we do worry about kind of his points lately, 13.4, 10, and then 13.1. This is a pretty strong matchup, although the matchup against Dallas was also a pretty strong matchup. So he seems like kind of in the captain role, where if we're playing him, we're probably looking mostly to play him in the captain spot, betting on him to have that good game, rather than having a lot of exposure to him in the flex. We'll be underweight on him in the flex, overweight on him in the captain spot. Then what I don't like about the Eagles is it has been a little bit of a guessing game as to which one of Devonta Smith or AJ Brown will go off. Last week was the first week in which they both ended up having a good game, and that's because Dallas Goedert did not have a good game. So I do like setting a rule of getting to at least 2 of those in all of our builds, and maybe even exactly 2 in all of our builds, just trying to get the combination of those 2 correctly. And then worth calling out, guys, Jahan Dotson has been playing a lot of snaps. I'm just not expecting all too much out of him. And so we are getting to Hurts. We know that. And then I do think we can try to get to at least AJ Brown or Devonta Smith. Obviously for this build, that will not work. And so to kind of make the build work with how I kind of presented to you guys, where we do want to get to 2 of the Eagles pass catchers with Jalen Hurts, I went with Goddard and Smith. And we are still getting to like Burden in the captain. Don't necessarily love that, but kind of betting on the game flow. Then we get Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. So overall, a pretty solid build still. It does hold a lot of logic for this slate. Although, again, with the Eagles being 7-point favorites, we probably do want to look to try to get to Barkley. And then we'll jump into the 9-5 lineup builder, guys. I did set those rules. So about 2 of Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith in all the builds. And so it is really trying to punt to some value here. I don't know if we necessarily need to do that. So this build right here is probably the one I like the most. Goddard, Hurts, Barkley, Brown, Smith, Burden. So we are going to get to some Burden, but it is really trying to punt to just like low potential value here. really trying to fit in the rest of the stud. So I don't think we want to get to those plays. So like this lineup, it is trying to get to a lot of Goddard in the captain. Again, I just showed you guys what it looks like getting to Burden there instead. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That's going to do it for tonight's video. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.